Let's bring in former litigator and MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin, who sat down for an interview with a former federal prosecutor of some of the violent January 6 rioters pardoned by President Trump. Lisa, good morning. So what did you hear? This has to be incredibly frustrating, probably isn't even the word, for someone who put together a case, built all these cases, won convictions, just to see the jails opened up so people could walk out.
Willie, that's absolutely right. Yesterday, I interviewed Alexis Loeb, who worked in the Justice Department for over a decade, most recently on the department's sprawling effort to prosecute cases related to the January 6th insurrection. And we spoke about her reaction to President Trump's pardons of the Capitol rioters. Do you have concerns about your safety in the wake of these pardons?
Whenever prosecutors bring cases, particularly cases involving violence, that is a risk that you take on as a prosecutor. But apart from my role as a prosecutor, I have concerns as an American about what happens now that all of these defendants have been given a pass of some quite serious crimes, and what kind of message that sends to them or others who may be considering committing acts of political violence in the future.
Willie, Alexis and I also spoke about FBI Director nominee Kash Patel, who, despite his comments at yesterday's hearing, has set off alarm bells in the Department of Justice about his potential lack of independence from President Trump. Mr. Patel today was told by a senator of President Trump's own party that he believed that the pardons, and you'll excuse my language, sucked. Is there anything that you want to say to Kash Patel on the eve of his presumably becoming director of the FBI?
The pardons can't be undone at this point, but what Mr. Patel can do is that going forward as the head of the FBI, he has the power to remain vigilant and to stop further acts of political violence and to respond when those happen and take them seriously and make sure that future acts of political violence are not treated with impunity and are investigated as they should be.
So additionally, President Trump's interim U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C., Ed Martin, has set a deadline of today for members of his office to issue a preliminary report on the department's prosecutions of those Capitol rioters. Before he joined the Trump administration, Martin, of course, was a Stop the Steal advocate who spoke at the Capitol on January 5th and was on the Capitol grounds during the riot the next day. As the mob breached the building, Martin tweeted in part, "Like Mardi Gras in D.C. today, love, faith, and joy." The internal review, which has been dubbed Project 1512 because of the federal statute it deals specifically with the DOJ's charging of an obstruction of justice charge that the Supreme Court ruled was applied too broadly to some of these January 6 cases. And Lisa, I mean, this is someone who, I mean, we can't say it more plainly than that. He was a Stop the Steal advocate. He was there pushing the lie that Donald Trump won that election. And here he is looking at the investigations.
He is not only looking at the investigations, but he's basically doing a sweeping internal review, John, of those prosecutions, trying to investigate the investigators, which is something Pam Bondi, who is now the nominee for Attorney General, very famously said on television before her nominations hearings. Now, I recently obtained an internal email from Ed Martin to his colleagues that has previously been reported on by other outlets, but never before in its entirety. In the email, Martin goes out of his way to single out former federal prosecutor Ashley Akers, who joined you on Morning Joe earlier this week. Akers resigned from the department late last week and has since publicly called Martin's review a wild goose chase. Martin wrote in part, quote, "Someone named Ashley Akers has been going on television bad-mouthing our work and me. I have never met her, so I find her comments disconnected from reality. I will be reaching out to her. Maybe she had issues with her supervisors or my predecessor. We will see if we can help her." Alexis Loeb, the federal prosecutor I spoke with yesterday, personally knows Ms. Akers, and we have her first reaction to that email, saying she was unnerved by Martin calling out Akers by name. Take a look. What did you think when you heard about Mr. Martin's comments about Ms. Akers?
I found it chilling to name her specifically for making comments that don't seem disconnected from reality at all. Ms. Akers' comments reflected the facts that the department proved at trial after trial after trial of these defendants.
You mentioned that you found Mr. Martin's email chilling, and yet You're sitting here with me in a conference room doing an interview. Why?
It's important for people to understand the facts about the cases, the facts of what happened at the Capitol on January 6th. And it's also important for them to understand that these were not political prosecutions. They were staffed by career employees of the Department of Justice. They were conducted in partnership with FBI agents from around the country. People of all political persuasions came to work together on these cases because they understood that it was wrong to assault officers and it was wrong to attack the Capitol and the peaceful transfer of power on that day.
Lisa, terrific and important interview. David, let's get you to react to it, to weigh in on this idea of chilling, because it's not just looking backwards and investigating the investigators, but also sending a message about any possible investigations into the Trump administration going forward.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it, but along with many pardons was the pardon of the Proud Boys, the group that Donald Trump said during a presidential debate, stand back and stand by. So that's the message to the perpetrators of this. And we've seen this across the Justice Department and the FBI. People involved in any kind of investigation of Donald Trump are being reassigned. Some of them are being reassigned to a new task force to prosecute officials in sanctuary cities who are seen as not enforcing federal immigration law. So this is payback. It's very clear to people. People are very unnerved in the Justice Department and the FBI, and it's, as far as I know, unprecedented. And it is a chilling message.
Lisa, final word to you.
I think it's important that people like Alexis Loeb have spoken out. The bravery that she and folks like Ashley Akers and Jason Manning, who spoke with NBC News last week with Ryan Riley, have shown is remarkable. And yet the incentives for people like them to talk to folks like us, there is no incentive for them, because we can see that what Ed Martin is doing in collecting up all these documents as part of his preliminary review, that looks to me like the precursor to something more than an investigation that starts to look like, I know exactly who to blame and where to lay that blame. And to the extent that that materializes into not just firings, but prosecutions, there are reasons for folks to be scared. So I appreciate very much that Alexis decided to speak with us, John.
You might even say they're weaponizing the Justice Department. MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin and NBC News senior executive editor for national security David Rode. Thank you both. Coming up.